What's up, everybody? I'm here with my friend Jake Davenport. Real estate Jake, my man. How are you today?
I'm doing good. How about yourself?
I'm doing wonderful, my man. I want to give you an opportunity to explain everybody who you are, what you do, and where you're from.
Absolutely. My name is Jacob Davenport, also known by Real Estate Jake. I do all things real estate. I'm an investor. I'm a real estate agent. I'm a coach. I'm a leader. And I'm not perfect, but those are the main activities that I'm always actively in regards to real estate.
Awesome, man. How'd you find yourself in real estate?
That's a good question. How did I find? I never intended to get in real estate, so that's important to be clear. But being from Sacramento, growing up in Sacramento, I always knew I was entrepreneurial since a very early age. I imagined that I was going to buy a house at one point from a very early age because growing up, my mom on Section 8, just struggling, single mom, 10 kids, just really trying to make it happen. I can remember early on, one of the locations we lived in, it was like for 14, 15 years. The landlord, he was decent with my mom, but I just remember my mom always being stressed out. She didn't want to get evicted. Sometimes it was late. He would knock on the door. She's like, everybody be quiet, because she needed more time to be able to come up with the money, right?
Oh, wow.
And so that was a reality that you saw, and I remember even from a financial standpoint, I remember one time half our house caught on fire because I remember like it was yesterday. We had the SMUD went out. Back in the day, if you were late, they used to put like a red tag on your door, right?
Yeah.
And you have like 3 days to pay it or something like that. Well, the 3 days wasn't going to be enough for my mom, so she would like go back down there and try to talk to the people, but they probably knew my mom by first name. So every once in a while, it would get shut off, right? And I remember one time coming home late at night, the electricity was off, so my mom would buy candles from the Dollar Tree, like the ones that float in water with the aluminum around them. So like put one in the bathroom, one in the living room, so we could see at night. And I think my sister, she had put like her towel in the shower and then walked out because we had to keep the light on, and it caught fire. Fortunately, no one got hurt. But when I go back to real estate, I remember our house not necessarily feeling like a home, but it was a house. It belonged to somebody else. And the conditions within our lifestyle was very, very complicated. So I knew for sure I was going to have to make some money and buy a house, and then buy a house that the electricity always stayed on.
Right.
And with a fire extinguisher, just in case, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Thank God nobody was hurt, man.
Thank God. So getting back into real estate, early on, I had been incarcerated at one point. And that was for a stint, right? For a poor decision. I own it. And then after coming home and trying to get back on my feet, I started going back to school. And then at school, I met someone whose parents were in real estate, heavy in real estate in San Joaquin County. So met the young lady, simply friends. She said, "Man, you speak pretty well. You should meet my dad." So I ended up getting a call from her dad. Went out to Stockton at the time. It's probably like 2016, and went interview with him. Right. So we connected. Good interview. Immediately hit it off, and we were talking maybe from a philosophical standpoint about just different books and different ideas. And then I remember it was 7 Habits of Highly Effective People by Stephen Covey. Yeah. And I was just quoting some of the things about the win-win. And he was like, "Man, you read a lot of books." I remember he paused. He said, "Man, you read a lot of books. I read all those books too." He said, "Where did you read all those books at?" And I froze because I was moving so fast, excited that there was another person that was an avid reader. And simply just, it's always tell the truth. I told him, I said, I was incarcerated for a little while. And so went through that story, and then the guy said, "Well, look, I want to work with you, and so let's see if we can get your license. Let's see if we can do that." So I spent the several years trying to get my license. That didn't really work out because the Department of Real Estate has strict guidelines, right? I was on parole at the time and things of that nature. So that was a challenge. But so that's how I got introduced to real estate, was through this young lady, and then she introduced me to her dad. And so being in education and trying to, at the time, I was just trying to climb the pole, extend my career in business and in business finance and management. And so that's a good example of being in the right rooms, because I was in the right room. That led to another relationship. But the challenges just only began. But that is how I got introduced to real estate. In fact, before that, I had buddies that were like going to get their license.
Yeah.
But it wasn't even on my trajectory. I was going to school for business. And so that's how I got introduced to it.
Very nice, man. And so you had an entrepreneurial spirit at a young age, I imagine,
oh, for
growing
sure.
up how you did and everything.
For sure.
So 9 siblings, and you're the 10th? Or
I'm the 10th.
where do you fall in the age range between?
Well, I'm
your
not the 10th.
siblings?
There's 10. I'm the 6th. So I'm right in the middle. I'm like the one that I didn't need to go to Waterworld as a kid.
Yep.
And then when the other kids got extra toys for Christmas, I didn't get extra toys.
Right.
So it was just.
You got some babysitting duties later on.
Man, it was rougher than rough.
Right.
It was rougher than rough.
I can imagine growing up. So what part of Sacramento did you grow up in?
I grew up in Oak Park.
Yeah.
And then I later moved to like Elk Grove.
Okay.
Right. And then that's pretty much really it. Just spent my high school days in Elk Grove. Well, grew up in Oak Park, moved to Elder Creek, then went from Elder Creek, went to Elk Grove, and then from Elk Grove, I turned 18.
Yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
There you go. Then we go off and get into trouble and
Yeah. I mean, I think that in hindsight, I mean, I take full responsibility.
Right.
I take full responsibility. I just know that that's why I do a lot of mentorship, because I get it. It could be somewhat of it could be a trap, but we have to take responsibility, right? Because like my dad didn't live in my household, right? And that's important. I know young men need their fathers.
Absolutely.
Right?
I totally agree with that.
They need it. It's essential. And so just early on, being very entrepreneurial, I remember people that know me will tell you this. I was like 12 years old. I had a go-kart, right? Because my cousin who lived in Oak Park as well, my cousin Ivory Gardner, he gave me a go-kart that he won in a raffle one year.
Yeah.
Right? And so when I was like 12 or 13, he gave it to me. So what I used to do is I used to hook to the back of my go-kart, my lawnmower, and I put my edger on it with the extension cord,
Oh,
right?
let's go.
With the extra wire and the gas tank, and then I bungee wrap it, and I used to drive it in mow lawns. So I remember even being in 5th grade, I had like that much money. I had like 5, 10s, 20s, and 1s. I like the 1s because they make it look bigger.
Right.
But I remember in 6th grade, I had $100, $120,
Man,
right?
loaded, man. Let's go.
Hey, you couldn't tell me nothing, right?
Yep.
I was like, I'm gonna buy this new BMX bike, right?
For
and so
sure.
I definitely had my eye on some bigger things, and I understood that it took money. It did. I understood that quickly.
So your relationship with your mom, being a middle child and growing up in a single family, like, and 10 total children,
Yeah.
right? What was the time that you remember with her, like, because I imagine her time spread thin, trying to pay the bills, trying to get through life, just struggling to be a good mother for you and your siblings,
For
man.
sure. My mom's a saint. Anybody that knows my mom, if you come over, she's gonna feed you. And so I've had many friends that if they, whether they got kicked out their house or I remember, like, again, because it's all observation. There's some things that just stick with you.
Right.
And I remember, like, I have older sisters, and I remember, like, one of my sisters had a friend that was like probably going through some abuse. And I remember my mom brought her to let her come to our house. They was like, the girls were talking in the room. I was trying to listen, right? But as I got older, I realized kind of what was happening. It was some intervention, and my mom was probably trying to interject from an older woman's standpoint to try to help this young lady without crossing any boundaries, but at the same time make paramount helping the young lady out. So my mom's a saint. I think that, again, I think entrepreneurship definitely is innate, in my opinion, right? Whether it is or not, it doesn't make a difference. But I noticed that, like, when I look at entrepreneurs now, because I mentor and I help young men and young women get the real estate license, get into flipping, it's very, very easy for me to tell probably who has it, who doesn't at this point. And it has nothing to do with sales. It has nothing to do with how many books you can read. I think that entrepreneurs, you can always tell a good entrepreneur when they lean into value. Meaning they'll do something without getting paid, without guaranteed. They'll do something and be comfortable with losing money as responsibly as possible, right?
Right.
But those entrepreneurs always kind of lean into that. And then I think non-entrepreneurs or people that have other skill sets, they're very, very calculated and measured. So they'll say like, oh man, I want to flip this property. All right. So you show them a property. So you'll need $150,000 to get this done. So if I give you $150,000, or if I buy it for $150,000, are you sure I'm going to make $150,000 back? Anytime I hear that, it's over.
Yeah. That's a red flag. Yeah. What do you mean? Well, there's a lot unseen, like the video earlier that I saw today. Like, hey, what do you see when you look through this? Okay, now what do you smell? What senses are you using? Do you think that your mom had an integral part in how you treat people right now? Because just from hearing that about your mom, I could see, just knowing you,
hands down,
what you provide.
Hands down. My mom used to ride me the hardest of all my siblings. She used to ride me the hardest. But
does she agree with that?
For sure. For sure. It was kind of tricky though, because like I landscaped early on. So I'll tell you the worst thing I could ever have done, but it turned out to be pretty good. Like where we lived at, in two of our houses, like one of our houses we lived like on 14th Avenue. And then this other house we lived at, it was a huge backyard. So my mom somehow got this lawnmower, because the landlord would say like, if you don't mow the lawn, then I'm gonna have to charge you more rent. I'm gonna mow it. So my mom somehow got this. It was a snapper too. I don't know if they sell snappers anymore.
I don't think so.
But it was a snapper, and it didn't have a bag on it. So the grass would blow.
Just kicking out on the side. Yep.
So I was responsible with my brothers to mow the lawn, and so I just remember at one point I was up, so I was mowing the lawn. And I knew that like our backyard was like a square, right? So depending on how you mow the lawn in the right direction and up and down, you could push the grass in the middle and in the middle. So go from each side and push it in the middle, and you'll find yourself in the end being able to just rake up one line. But my brother, they would just mow all over the place. Yeah. So you have to rake the huge backyard. My arms would be on swole, right? You would have thought I was Popeyes back then. Yeah. So I figured that out. That was just like easy peasy for me. And then in addition to that, I started edging, like the edger. Yeah. And I was like, I used to like to try to get the line real clean, like a haircut, right? Yeah. And so I would mow the lawn, edge it, and then water it, and I like to see it grow. Well, that was the worst thing that could have happened, because then my mom made me mow the lawn every weekend. Jacob. Showtime, right?
And you're still doing laundry, still doing dishes, still sweeping them up. And what's going on with my brothers over here?
Come on. Yes. So it was crazy, and I'm not good at everything, but always was an entrepreneur and always was a grinder. I always liked to grind. When it came to work, when it came to basketball, I'm grinding, I'm hustling, I'm putting it on the line, leaving it on the field. So what I learned is like I start feeling punished for being good at it. Yeah. Which blew my mind. Right. And so I say that to say that, like I said, my mom's a saint for sure. Shout out to her. Couldn't be where I am today without her. Right. But yeah, my mom always she worked at a clinic, because see, like when I grew up, things were rough. Hey, everybody has that story though. I'm not. Oh man, I grew up on the south side of Chicago.
We want to hear
it. Was snowing.
We want to hear it.
No. So it was rough, and she was trying her best. I couldn't understand at the time though, right? And so I remember like growing up on Section A. You know, the blessing of the food stamps. It just was a struggle, but everybody struggled where I came from. So I thought it was
life.
Yeah, it was life. Yeah. It was actually a beautiful experience. I had fun too. Because that kind of builds community. When lack of resources require you to depend on other people and be interdependent, dependent, and really work in a way that if you want to go fast, go alone. If you want to go far, go together. Right. So if you want to go far, if you want to go through the month, you better borrow some sugar from Miss Kwan next door, or you better ask Miss Blackwell to give you, some of their bread that they're giving away. Otherwise, you can't do it by yourself. And I saw those things. And so my mom, when you get like, I don't know how it is now, but when you get government resources, they don't allow you to work full time though, because the more you work, the less resource you get, blah, blah, blah. It kind of works like that. So my mom had like a part-time job at one point, and it was for this place called the Birthing Project. So it was like a clinic. Yeah. Again, it was years ago, but I remember basically, I think they gave away like, condoms, resources like that, therapy, education, things like that. And my mom was like a community
community
outreach advisor. There you go.
Yeah.
Did you work there?
No.
Okay, because you know. So, long story short, she had worked there for a long time. And in my neighborhood, there was a place called Wellsprings.
Okay.
Where it was like a safe haven for women. You go have coffee, cupcakes. As long as you were a young kid, you can go in, but men were not allowed. There was women that were on drugs, being abused, prostitution, the whole thing. Mm-hmm. So as a kid, I always saw this, not like once or twice. My mom used to wash dishes at Wellsprings. There was a lady named Miss Carol there. My mom loved Miss Carol. She would go volunteer, have some breakfast, bring us, excuse me. And so between that and I think that's how she got the job at the Birthing Project. Mm-hmm. My mom she was always, somebody that was struggling, she was always in their business. She was always trying to figure out how she can solve it. And I think that, I love to speak, right? My mom, she talks a whole lot. We used to sit in the, off the Stockton Boulevard and Stockton and Fruit Ridge. There used to be Albertsons and a Blockbuster there. So it's right outside my neighborhood. Yep. Man, my mom would like come out the grocery store and see one of her friends, and we had a beat up car, no AC, or a beat up wagon. It was like the one you pop the door back, right? It turned into a camper. My mom would see one of her friends or somebody that need help, and she'd start talking to them, trying to encourage them, giving them resources. She's like, oh, call this number. She used to keep a little notebook. She's like, oh, let me find my notes. Call this number right here if you need to get some groceries. And
she's just pouring into everybody's cup, man.
But listen, I was like, Mom, bring me a cup of some ice. It's hot in this car, right? So she would be talking in the parking lot for hours and hours and hours. But I just remember in hindsight, it was always about value. Mm-hmm. Always about, I can't remember a time like my mom had like a brand new pair of shoes. As I got older, got a couple of dollars in my pocket. I made sure, mom's straight. Yeah. Mom has brand new Air Maxes in a few colors, But as a kid, I don't remember my mom ever having those. So it was always about pouring into people. So for me, it's not so much she directly taught me that. I thought that's what you do.
That is what you do.
Yeah. So for me, it was easy to be a congratulator than a hater. Because I see my mom do it, right?
Right.
And so definitely when I look at, for me, I'm all about relationships and value. When I coin any level of success that I've been able to attain, it's by bringing value to people and somehow indirectly finding somebody else that can help me down the road.
Totally understand, man. It seems like you got a lot of those values from your mom. Just, she might have been hard on you, and learning from that later on, like looking back like we are right now, reminiscing on some of the stories of cutting the lawn and everything. I see you doing that every day, right? I'm not with you every day, but I'm noticing on your social media. Actually go follow him, shoot him a follow over here, but check out what he does, man, especially if you're getting in, if you have an entrepreneurial spirit, want to get in investing, man, Jake. I see you providing a lot of value, just free, just giving away as much as possible. And I could see from your post the other day with your clients, hey, offer accepted, you guys are out to dinner. You know what I mean? Who else is doing stuff like that? I know a lot of agents, right? They're like, oh, I just got to get this deal. And I think you and I run a similar business where it's not about the deal. There's a great quote, right? People will never remember what you do for them, and they'll always remember how you made them feel.
That's Maya Angelou.
Yeah.
It's Maya Angelou, for sure. You bring up something that, I always struggle with. I'm trying to struggle with it less and less because really you just have to let things go. But when I got into real estate, I'm always gonna be myself, and I just noticed that. That's why I say there's entrepreneurs and there's non-entrepreneurs, because entrepreneurs will do until they figure it out. They might even die trying to figure it out, right? And you have non-entrepreneurs, which don't make them any less an entrepreneur, but different strategy and different rule book. They do with the expectation of getting something specific back. And so that's been my core. I don't have any problem with any agent in particular, but I just know that like real estate agency, it's always about, for a lot of agents, what they can get out of a client, what they can get out of somebody else. And it's just not my dance. It's not the song I dance to, right? I just, for me, it's very simple. Like I just remember, all right, so I grew up diverse.
Right.
So I remember as I got into real estate early on, before I started flipping, right? I didn't have a license, so I was doing like internships. I was giving up a lot of my time. I was giving up sweat equity.
Yep.
Right. I didn't have time. I didn't have money.
Say that again.
That's that sweat equity. That's that sweat equity. I didn't have money. I didn't have the knowledge. And then I was living in a city Stockton that was foreign to me. But what I did have is I had my grind, and I had me, and I had a lot of time too, right? So just giving that type of time out was always important to me. But I always noticed that, like, it was so transactional with most people, and that was just something so foreign to me. When I was a kid, this is true, for real, don't laugh, all right? All right, so when I was a kid, like, my neighbors were like Vietnamese, so I could speak like Vietnamese, right? Like you say "Chào bác," that's like hello to seniors in Vietnamese, right? And then I speak a little Spanish too, right? And then I speak a little Cambodian too. So when I was a kid, I used to go to my friend's house and play video games. We didn't have video games. My mom couldn't afford it. So I used to go to my boy Tommy's house. They spoke Vietnamese, right? Yeah. So I go over there, watch Vietnamese movie with his parents, eat some food, go home. It's like 6 or 7 years old. So I saw just different cultures. So this is the truth. I really thought that Tommy and my boy Lil Matthew, who was Hispanic, I thought they were my brothers. So I would tell people that's my brother. Yeah. Because my mom would say like we like firecrackers back in the day. You ever get a pickle of Pete in a bottle, right?
Dude,
look,
yes.
Come on.
Yes, bro.
So look,
I'm making those.
I wasn't the originator of the idea, but I wasn't afraid to light it.
Right.
Right. So we would get the piccolo Pete's, put them in the 2-liter, hit the hole, right, put the little wick on it, and we light and run. Yep. Boom! The whole neighbor, all the alarms would go off, right? The 94 Hondas and whatnot. Yeah. It was a problem. And so I remember one time I had lit a fire. But no, you know what? I'm not snitching on my homeboy still to this day. I lit it. They didn't have anything to do with it, right? Yep. I lit it, and the firecracker went off, and it did some damage in the neighborhood, right? But my friend, this neighbor, saw us, and she ratted us all out. So when we got in trouble, I remember my boy Tommy's dad. He was a Vietnam veteran. He came here from Vietnam, and the guy was militant, yoked, but he didn't speak that much English. But I remember when he found out all 3 of us did it, that guy brought the belt out. He tore all of us up. Ooh, he tore us up, right? And sent me packing home. I'm telling my mom. So, Mom, Tommy,
salt bruised butt and
Tommy's
everything.
dad whooped me. Why? I don't know. He just whooped me, right? So my mom goes over to talk to Tommy's mom, and then I come back home, and my mom whooped me, Tommy, and little Matthew. And then we went to little Matthew's house, and then his mom whooped us, right? And so I just remember just like those early experiences, like those are my brothers, right? So when I think about like culture, when I think about growing, when I think about entrepreneurship, when I think about interacting, because humans are important, I just think that when you lock in with people, right? And it becomes about value, right? And that's how you go far. So it was always distasteful to me when I saw like the sheer culture of agency being so selfish. You know, it just, I mean, I don't have a bone to pick with it, but it's there. And anybody that says it's not, they're lying.
Nah, they either are lying or don't have the experience.
Yeah.
I'll tell you, man, my experience, I learned early and often, because I used to be a hothead. Right now I'm more controlled and understanding.
I got that.
Yeah. Now, like, because in the transaction, the 2 most important groups are the seller and the buyer.
Yep.
That's it.
Yes, sir.
So me as an agent, I have no ego.
Yep.
It's not my house, right? Yes, I have a fiduciary responsibility. And I also, in my ethics and morals, like I have to act as a professional. So I'll get calls sometimes and the agent on the other side is wigging out and they want to yell and they want to cuss. They want to do this.
I hate that.
And I will straight up tell them, hey, you know what? Sounds like you're having a bad time. Catch your breath. Call me back in 5 minutes when we can have a professional conversation. Click. I'm not going to get my emotions tied up in yours. Your emergency, everything you got going on, that's not for me, man. I got a house. I got a lady. I got a dog. I got friends that I care about. I got a family I care about. Your ego and you lashing out, and I'm sure you do the same thing, right? Like, hey, it's about the transaction.
Your podcast is about the truth, all right? And we're going to tell the truth, okay? The one thing that, like I was telling you earlier and told you before, the one thing that always stuck out with me in all the interactions we had, you just are always so calm. So it's not low key. I wouldn't say you're high key or low key. Your vibration is always very tranquil, right? So in transparency, yes, that is the right thing to do. And yes, that is what I do recently. Yeah,
it takes a while to get there. But if you carry somebody else's weight, man, you not only have your weight, now you're carrying their weight, and then you're walking through your home with that weight, and it's like, oh, what am I doing that for?
Historically, I like to carry it. Well, let's go into it.
Let's dive in.
Yeah, let's go, because and that's why I mentor, because you have to learn these things. It took me 34 years to even have an appetite for it. And so I know exactly what you're talking about. Younger, right? Absent of a father, right? You had to figure things out, right? And so I remember going to school. Some of my friends, they were a little more aggressive. And then I had some friends that knew how to fight. I'm like, man, how does he know how to fight? I'm just swinging. They really knew how to fight. And in hindsight, I remember you realize that some of them had fathers that either had them in karate or was getting them together from a shoulder standpoint, right? Because they knew they were going to have to go out there and combat. Because that's how life happens sometimes. Right. And you can combat with your mind, though, too. But sometimes you have to be able to protect your family, right? And so I just remember some of my friends, they were real put together from the shoulders. And it took a while to figure it out, but was their father, right? And so early on, like in my neighborhood, people would steal your bike. Right? You have pegs on it.
Pegs, just roll them right off.
Yeah, man, I work hard.
Unless you have that nut on the outside locking them in.
Yeah.
That was the trick.
That's the trick. But if you screw them on, they're
gone.
Right, they're bye-bye, right? So I just remember, like, I was mowing lawns. So my mom couldn't buy me a bike. That was not going to happen. So I just remember I did buy a bike one time, a blue one. It was a Mongoose.
Yeah.
Ooh, matching pegs. Ooh, 3-piece crank.
Let's go.
Ooh, brakes. Nasty, right?
Yeah.
And I don't know what I paid for it, but I had saved up some money. I got it. I even took my go-kart with a red wagon to go pick it up. How about that?
Let's go.
Right? So I had to clean. I used to take it in my house.
Bro, I need to see a picture of this, bro. I'm pumped on it.
I used to flip the bike over on the handlebars and put it in my room. I sleep by it, right?
That's your baby.
Yeah, I mean, hey, I only had a mattress back then, but I had my bike.
Yep.
And so they would steal your bikes. And I remember these guys, they stole my bike, and I knew they did. And they spray painted it. And I had to go get my bike back.
Yeah.
And so, whatever, that was an altercation. But I just remember early on, no, they spanked me. How about that? Let's tell the truth, right? They spanked me, for real, all three of them. They spanked me, and I never got that bike back, right? No, I ended up getting it back later. I did. Got my bike back. That's the truth. I'll show you a picture. But it was all messed up, right?
Right.
But I ended up losing that fight, 3-on-1 fight, and they sent me home packing with a bloody nose. And I just remember not liking that feeling. That somebody could do that for me. I really didn't do anything wrong. So you begin to gain a skill set if you're in environments like that where there's lack of leadership and probably men showing problem resolution. Also, don't steal bikes.
Right, don't steal bikes.
If there were probably 2 parents in the household and everybody in the community had bikes, we probably wouldn't be stealing bikes.
Right.
Right, like, come on, right? So that happened.
Bigger picture.
Yeah, bigger picture. I didn't like that. I didn't like losing that fight. So from there on, I did take a position as I realized how this goes. He who has the biggest stick. So, get in small altercation, but also understanding how to navigate some things. Obviously didn't learn enough because even when I was incarcerated, I just remember that, and I don't even dive too much into that, right? But I definitely feel your podcast, man. I feel all the energy. I remember I had an encounter with this guy 2 or 3 times, right? And he just kept kicking it off. I take responsibility for everything. So
right.
Let's knock that out the way.
So
right?
let's make sure everybody hears that.
Right.
You're not blaming a single person for how you grew up, where you grew up at.
No.
None of that, or where you're at today. It's like, hey, I take full accountability.
I own it.
I think that's the number one thing people need to hear right now is like, own it, man.
Own it.
My uncle told me when you're 18, right? Everything 17 and under, you could blame everybody for if you choose to. You have that opportunity. Once you turn 18, it's all on you.
It's all on you.
That's it. That's it.
It's all. I own it, and what makes it easier is when you just own it. You don't even have to argue, go back and forth. You can settle it right there and bury it. Right. So I own it all. But I still put it in context, man. This guy, he was trying to bully me. That's really what it was. He was trying to bully me, right? And then him and his brother tried to like jump me. It's all right. And I just remember just telling this dude, like, man, bro, leave me alone, right? And then he didn't. So what happened after that was some altercations. Mm-hmm. Part of that altercation is I elevated it very, very quickly. I told him in advance. I said, look, I don't want to do that. Elevate it real quickly. And then what I later found out, because I got in trouble for it, right? Discharging a firearm, right? And I remember when I got arrested, I remember because this guy was in a gang. Mm-hmm. From North Sacramento. He was in a gang apparently. I remember when I got arrested, he came in the back of the cop car. I remember being in the back of the cop car looking over the window. This guy got out the car and went to the window and said, yeah, that's Jacob. That's Jacob. He's the one that did it. That's Jacob. So and I didn't understand that part because see, when I was younger, when they took my bike, I was supposed to go over there and fight them one-on-one to get my bike. I went over there to fight to get my bike. They spanked me and sent me back packing. Mm-hmm. Didn't get the bike, but I fought. Right. So this is what was taught to me was stand your ground, go from the shoulders, handle your business. And man was described by he who that wins. Right. And so really, and I don't consider myself an aggressive person, but I learned to hold my own. Right.
Yeah.
I mean, what was I going to do? Call my mom? No, that wasn't going to happen. So, in short, I just remember that time. Man, then the guy came to court. He was like, "Yeah, this is Jacob." They had him as, he had his opportunity to tell what happened, and I'm not mad at him for it. Right? It just was communicated to me a little bit different because at the time it was communicated to me like, "Oh man, I'm from some Sacramento crib. I'll kick your butt."
Right.
So it was.
To that. Yeah.
But now here's a lesson and a blessing that I learned from it. There's tools that you need in life. There's different tools you need. And you were talking about it earlier about when you're on the phone with an agent and you're having a debacle or they're coming at you aggressively, you can package it, pause them, give it back to them and hop off the phone and you can stop it right there.
Right.
Okay, so when I got arrested, I was like 19. I did not have the skill set of diplomacy. I didn't have the skill set of walk away. I didn't have the skill set. I wasn't allowed to call the police. That wasn't even. That wasn't even on the cards for me, right? Because I was taught differently.
Yep.
If y'all break in my house right now, I'll call the police on you. I'm telling you right now, quick. I'm not playing, right? But so those things, as I was growing as a young man, I was working with the cards that I was given, right? And so I didn't know that, but in hindsight, I would have walked away. I mean, stuff happens, when I walk out the mall.
Right.
Oh, we're walking away quickly. Yeah. And then here's the other thing. If I have to apologize for any miscommunication, even if I don't feel like I own it, watch this, I own it again.
Right.
But I didn't have that back then.
Yeah.
So that was like the biggest blessing for me is that as a man, you can walk away.
Mate, so you go through the childhood upbringing you did. All the brothers and sisters, single mom, struggling to keep the power on, losing the bike, still trying to hustle and everything, get incarcerated, you get out, meet the family, right? It says, hey, I want to help you, man. What did that mean for you?
That's the thing because I remember, I remember being incarcerated. It was long. It seemed like a long time, 4 years. And I remember because I was taking college courses, so I would, in a cell, you have like 2 bunks, one and the one up top, right? Small cell. I remember I used to roll my mattress up right here, and then I would put my books out because I was studying for business in prison, right? I would put my books right here, and I had a laundry detergent bucket, so I put the bucket right here. So boom, it was like this, right? And I sit on the bucket, have my book open, and then I'll study. Sometimes 2 or 3 o'clock. I mean, I have time.
Yeah,
I'm not going
that's all you got.
And I would study like that, and I remember late night studying. I felt good because I was like, man, while everybody was asleep, I'm grinding.
Right.
I'm grinding. I'm getting the information. But in the back of my head, I was like, oh, when I get out, they're still not going to give me a job because that's how it could be communicated. And I remember one time I said, man, if I ever have a chance or somebody gives me an opportunity, I'm taking it. I promise. I always told myself that, right? So when the opportunity presented itself to even look at real estate, the suggestion was to moved to Stockton because I couldn't commute that far. Mind you, I wasn't working. I was living off financial aid. Right. So the money was already tight. And it's also important to know that, like, at the time, my brothers, two people I grew up with, my brother Jay, who happens to be Filipino, and my brother Mike Gilmore, both of their parents, Mike happened to be Italian, right? Mike happened to be Filipino. Man, their parents let me live at their house, man. Here, no, it's a little more serious than that. I didn't have an option. Oh, you're living here, you're eating food, and on Christmas, you're going to be put together. My brother Jay, he always mad at me. I got better gifts than him. Why are you mad at me? Why are you mad at me, right? No, seriously, I love both of them. And Mike as well. You know, they really made sure, because there's a statistic out there that 82% of people contribute to recidivism. That's the hard part. Because when you come home, it's people, places, and things. You go back to the same place with the same people with the same things. You with these same skill sets if you don't figure it out. So meaning that if you don't know how to walk away, which those encounters are in business right now, then you're going back. If drugs is a habit of yours and you haven't buried that relationship with drugs and committed sobriety, you're going back. So it was those things. But when I talk more specifically about the family that helped me get into real estate, everybody told me don't go. I talked to everybody. I said, I'm moving to Stockton. I went for an interview the day of Halloween. I remember it was 2016 Halloween. I went, connected with the gentleman, masterminded the whole thing. And then when I came back, he was like, man, you want to start, you want to come out here and get on your feet? And everybody I spoke to said, don't go. Some of them was like, man, listen, that guy might be trying to kidnap you. He might be trying to kidnap you. They never met him, right?
Right.
But I knew what I felt at the interview. One, I knew that. And also, what I have to lose?
What did you have to lose?
Nothing. I have nothing to lose. I'm back in Sacramento. I'm going to school with no big vision, right? Even when I came home, people, places, and things, most of the people I hung with were probably doing this as equally as me, and I only been home 9 months. Like, most of my friends didn't have a license still. I'm like, dog, what are you doing, right? And then the other thing is, even like I had some really close friends before I left, and ironically, when I came home in 2014, May 10th, 2014, I remember April 14th, 2013. Like, you have, like, in your cell, you have like little TVs. And just some of my really good friends I love dearly, man. I love dearly. Even one of them was an older guy that really taught me, man, everything I know about just being a man. His name is Israel. When that dude bought my whole prom suit. When I was trying to go to prom, he laced me up. I remember when I graduated from high school, my mom couldn't make it. She had moved and she had car problems. And I did 5 years in high school. Because I went to high school 3 years, and in my fourth year, I was like, man, I'm not going to school no more. I need to make some money. I got a job, right? And mom couldn't help me out, so I stopped going to school. Then mom was like, get your butt back in school. So, but because I had missed so many credits. Days, my mom went to the school, I swear, I remember like it yesterday. She went to Elk Grove School District. My mom's an advocate, I'm telling you. Yeah. She was like, oh, yeah, my son this, my son that. Whatever she told those people, they gave me what's called an IEP, right? It's like it's a program, right? Very good program for
where you can be employed and still do your school.
No, this program is for probably with people with learning disabilities, or challenges or emotional challenges, right? And what my mom told them, because I know my mom, I wasn't involved in the meeting, right? My mom probably said something to the effect of, his dad's not in his life, he's stressed out, it's tough for the neighborhood. I know my mom. She said, like, but she's not lying. But the people probably, because I know my mom, they wanted to get her out the office. They was like, listen, we're going to give it to him. All right, we're going to give it to him. So they gave me this IEP, which legally allowed me to stay in school past 18. Because there's a risk when you have 18-year-olds on campus. So then I finished up, at this time I finished up strong. I got it, and I'm like, I'm finished school. I'm going to take it serious. I matured a little bit. I had dropped out. Yeah. I matured a little bit, and I understood, like, just knock out the classwork and then go to work. Time management got good for me. So then I went to my senior year of high school. All my friends graduated. Man, a couple of them was laughing at me. They're like, you're not graduating this year? I said, no, I got to go back for another year. it was so embarrassing, and I didn't like the school. I was at Elk Grove, so what I did is, see, now I'm working now. I had a car, so then I start driving back to Oak Park, and I went to Sac High because these are all the kids I grew up with, anyways, right? So I went to Sac High, did half days there, and graduated from there. So that was like it wasn't the struggle, it was just a beautiful thing for me. But I say all that to say that I almost lost my train of thought, but that was the process.
Just the opportunity coming out of incarceration.
Yeah.
And then finding that opportunity, people telling you no.
Yeah, yeah. Oh, yeah. Everybody said don't do it, but I shook the dice, right? And it paid dividends.
Yeah.
It wasn't easy though. It wasn't easy because see the DRE the DRE denied my license 3 times.
Oh yeah.
I applied in 2017.
Discharging a firearm, right? Like felony offense. All that good stuff, right?
All that good stuff.
I know
they still didn't have to deny my license.
They didn't have to, but
they did.
You had somebody good fighting for you, right? Taking 3 times to get it.
Well, the thing is we go back to what I have to lose.
Right.
Right? People, places, and things. That's really what we was getting at. Like staying in Sacramento, I knew I didn't have to. I learned some tools.
Right.
One of them you could walk away. And then I remember while I was incarcerated, this guy, he was a truck driver on the streets, and he had got life. And I remember he used to always say, Davenport, you never even been out your neighborhood. You just like pull your car back and go back in your driveway. He used to always say that. I said, I've been many places. He said, where you been? I said, nowhere. He said, when you get out, if you don't leave your neighborhood, I promise you're going back to jail. So when the opportunity presented itself, it had nothing to do with what I could have got. I remember what that man told me. So I left him with the Stockton. And was grinding.
I love that.
Grinding.
I love that. Somebody was watching out for you. Hey, if you stay here, you're likely going back, right? Because people, place, and things, right? Staying in the same group, staying at the same table, eating the same food, listening to the same garbage. What are you going to do?
Is that insanity or something like that? Like expecting different results?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. We see that all the time, man.
Yeah.
See that all the time in today's world.
Yeah.
Oh, man, I can't figure out X, Y, Z, and your friend group's still the same. Your life's still the same. You still got the same job. You're still treating people the same way, especially yourself. Sounds like you said, you rolled the dice and took a chance on yourself, man.
I never would have met you.
God is good, baby.
I don't think you would have been hanging out in Oak Park on a Sunday.
I don't think so, man.
Yeah.
Not these days.
Not these days, right?
I'm not from here like originally, but yeah.
Nobody should be hanging out.
Yeah,
right,
nobody should be hanging out.
Yeah.
Man. Hey, we got to get out of this.
Yeah.
But you see a resemblance, your mom's pouring into the cups, everybody you grew up with, the parents over there pouring into cups. And what do you do to fill your cup as you pour into so many, man?
You always know the right questions to ask to make me think. Your podcast should be called The Truth, because I know you always like to lead with the truth. Or the subgroup, The Truth, right? I don't. I think that that's another skill set I got to work on. I have to work on. Meaning, it's not like I don't buy myself a pair of socks or take a shower, right? But there's you have to take emotional care and mental care. And so what I have learned as a child and as an adult, and what has worked for me, grind. My big brother, he has a clothing line called Still Grinding, right?
Yeah.
And I always go to his shop. I just take some sweaters. I'll get you one. He can't catch me. I'll take a couple of sweaters. I'll run, right? But I just grind. And so in the absence of that, it could be very challenging I have great relationships. I think we have a great relationship, right? And I'm getting to know you more and more, and I only see the upward potential. But what happens is when you don't pour into yourself and really analyze that, it could be a challenge when you look at going deeper with relationships, probably like with partners. I'm a single as a Pringle, right? Not like I haven't had one, but I noticed that we're growing up, like I said, growing like many of us do. I got to a point now where it's like I'm just grinding, and that's not good.
Well, how long are you gonna grind till So Jake needs to take a couple weeks off and rest the shoulder injury. You know what I mean? Like, what does that look like?
I don't. I mean, like I said, this podcast is the truth. I'm just telling you the truth.
Yeah.
I don't know. I mean, the reality is I like what I do now.
Yeah.
I love what I do. I am doing some things for myself. I'm doing some things for my daughter and ensuring that she can continue being safe and being in a position where she can grow in a healthy environment, right? So that's really important to me. But I think that any entrepreneur or hustler would know that the last thing they ever want to do is go backwards. So that's a component where you have to trust yourself, trust your process. That hey, coming off the gas, you'll still be okay. I know some. We probably mutually know some people that could be coin successful many times over by the number of units they own, the income that they've earned, right? Their net worth, and you see them grind, right? So I know I'm not alone there. It's the grind. That's one of those things I have to actively solve, though.
Yeah, that's good. Just being aware about it.
Yeah.
So it sounds like what I hear, like I do the same thing. I do take time for me. Like I know where I need to be, like church on Sundays, right? Those kinds of things. My Band of Brothers group on Wednesday mornings, like those things. In the gym, having my prayer time and everything. Running away from pain and fear and moving toward your objective of success, and being a great father, and a great mentor, and a great coach,
right?
And running successful businesses and all that stuff. So that pain growing up like that is kind of a really reckoning force behind you.
Oh,
saying,
Lord.
Man, I ain't going back. And I will never let anybody go back.
For sure. Because the pain never goes away. I mean, for me, let me speak for me. And it's not one of those things I carry with me, but there's implications. I mean, I can't speak for women because I'm not a woman.
Right.
But I think that's the road to leadership is a lonely path, and the expectations for men are to be great leaders, right? And so that could be a bit of a challenge, right? Kind of dealing with that and understanding it, comprehending it. But I just like I always try to be. I don't try to be. I'm just always going to be real and be the way I see it. My lens. That doesn't make my lens the truth, right? But when I don't know about other people's incarceration stories,
right?
I don't know about that. I just know where I've been. I know what I've seen. I know what I've endured, right? And the hardest thing is about being incarceration is not probably what is the most common misconception. There's violence. There's all the things that are cinematized for sure, but the one commonality is there are men in there that lose their parents while they're in jail. You know, you're incarcerated. Your mom dies. My best friends. So I told you I got a lot of brothers. I got a Puerto Rican brother named Martin. His mom's name was Miss Virginia. She lived like 2 houses down from Elk Grove. In Elk Grove. Man, that lady used to cook food every day. I walk home like this, like. I didn't have enough money for lunch, but I didn't eat lunch because Miss Virginia, you know, she gonna have some mole for me, right? And I remember when I got incarcerated, she was so disappointed. Oh my gosh, she was like, "Judge, he didn't do it. I know he didn't do it." The victim said he did it, right? And so, beautiful person. But one of the biggest things I remember is that around like 2012, I ended up getting a letter from my mom. And my mom knew, because I used to go to Miss Virginia's house on the week. They had a swimming pool, and I'm hopping the fence, right? What? Yeah, what?
Yeah.
And when you go in the backyard to hop the pool, you know the door to the garage. Yeah. Man, they used to shop at Costco, Capri Suns.
Oh, Gatorades, you're good. You're set.
Hot Pockets, right? Yeah. They're like, we're going out of town to Mexico for Friday. You watch the house, say less, right? And
you mean I got a pool and snacks?
Man, you know I was telling people that was my house, all right? And I remember. That I got this letter from my mom because my mom knew I was always hanging out at their house. The letter said, "Baby, I just want to let you know I love you, but I also want to let you know that Miss Virginia passed away." Oh my God, bro! It crushed me. It crushed me.
I'm torn right now for you in that moment, bro.
It crushed me.
That's 10 years ago.
It crushed me because, I mean, you know, you have a relationship with your parents and whatnot. Man, this lady would move mountains for me, and when my mom had so many kids, she had to divide up her love, but never not love me. This is just a little bit different. This was like an auntie. You know, aunties, they'll take you to get ice cream. Right. So this was
they got the time.
They have the time, right? Yeah. Or even if they don't, they just gonna do a little bit more for you, right? Don't tell your mom I got you some shoes.
Right.
That was Miss Virginia, and so that crushed me because I didn't realize even how much I loved her, right? And so when I look at those types of things in that process of incarceration and not being able to go to a funeral, what happens? You start to own those things and say, if I never did what I did, I would have been there, right?
Man.
Had some of my friends that passed away. If I never did what I did, I would have been there. I was saying something about resources earlier, and in fact, I remember what I was going to say is that in 2013, with some of my really close friends and a guy that was like a father to me, like I said, this guy bought my prom suit. I remember I was going to prom at Sac High, and I liked this girl. A lot of guys liked her. I was going to prom with her, right? And I was telling my for sure, you know, I had to put my sauce on, right?
Yeah.
And she was like, yeah, I just broke up with my boyfriend. I was like, cool, because I already liked her, but I knew she had a boyfriend. This girl name was, it doesn't matter her name, right? Yeah. But I remember telling my friend Israel, who's an older guy that really taught me a lot, growing my business, scaling and stuff like that. He was like, all right, well, we got to go to the mall and get you together. All right, I'm like, hey, cool. He's like, when you get out of school tomorrow, bro, I'm gonna pick you up, right? His daughter went to school with me, right? So I remember he came to pick me up, and I built old schools, right? Like Camaro's one. He's the one that taught me how to wrench and build old schools, right? So it was taught me hard work, taught me the value. There's price and there's value in cars. There's value in classic cars, and that stuff started clicking for me. I remember this guy picked me up from school and he drove me to the mall. He's like, I thought he was gonna give me my shirt for prom, and then I used my money to go get my suit. He got me the shirt. He got me the suit. Then he took me, back then Nordstrom used to sell like all designer and just different stuff. And this dude got me the Gucci belt with the Gucci shoes, with the Gucci, so I swear to you. And I had never like.
You just leveled it up.
Man, I had to pull those bags up the mall like this. He just kept laughing and kept laughing. He said, now you're right. And then he had I'm an old school classic car. He had a 68 Cougar, a yellow one, canary yellow, clean. One of the cleanest one in Sacramento. They all know it. It's a convertible with that top back. You know, I drove to prom with no license.
Let's go.
He said, man, you got to drive this Cougar. You know, you got to let him know.
You got to pick her up.
You got to represent. He said, you got to represent. I said, okay, right on. So then that talked about there's love from a male that was absent, right? And so those things are what I see so frequently when I'm mentoring young men. Is the very first thing I see is I see the mama there, right? I don't see the male love. I don't. And you don't know what it's like to you know, somebody comes and embraces you. The way you and I communicate is about a love and respect, man to man. You have no problem correcting me, holding me to it. Jake, you're wrong. That's love. That's love. Love is not, hey, Jake, go do it, go do it, go do it. That's two weak individuals playing with it, right? Just the
whatever. Blind leading the blind.
Blind leading the blind. Right. It doesn't become love. You say, Jake, you're wrong. I still love you, but you're wrong. So I see that very, very frequently, and as I go through things. And so for me, I go back to Virginia and some of the experiences I had, probably similar to most people, is you start owning those types of things. You start trying to be accountable, but your godmom passed away, you suck it up. You can't suck those things up. There's a process. So that's another tool, right? You do want to be accountable, but you got to be careful.
Totally understand, man.
Yeah.
And so back to the single mom thing, you brought it up right now, like the father figure lacking. You know, I had the similar thing going on. Not to that extreme. Like mine's.
I would say you drove a 6'8" Cougar.
No, bro. I missed prom, bro. I was in and out of juvenile hall, bro, on probation and in foster care and all that stuff. I was like, bro, I don't even want to be on this planet right now, right? Like I didn't want nothing to do with it. I was like, yeah, everybody sucks. I hate everybody. I'm just a pissed off blonde-haired white boy going serving the military after this. I'm out. You know. Yeah. So.
Let me ask you one question. Then what was your darkest moment?
Oh, I got plenty, man.
I'm talking about 16 to 19.
I'll tell you.
That era.
I'll tell you. So my real parents divorced. They got separated when I was 12. I love my mom. My father loves me the best of his ability. And for me, that didn't quite work. We never saw eye to eye. And, you know, I still love him. We still have a relationship now. You know, it took a long time to heal through that. We moved down to Southern California, El Centro. We lived with my grandparents, me, my 3 siblings, my father, and my grandparents, John and Joyce. They're the 2 names I have tattooed on my body on this tattoo, John and Joyce. And there was us kids, my father, and my grandparents living in Double Wide. And lived there for a while. We finally get an apartment. Man, this can go on, but I'll tell you the darkest moment I had, man. My father ended up beating up my brother Ethan for being bisexual. So he goes to jail.
Let me slide in. That's where I go back to the man thing, right? I have no opinion. Keep your hands off that young man. That's not what
I grew up in abuse.
Yeah, see that's not male love.
That's not love. I agree.
So most people will never. I'm just saying. I'm with you. That's all I'm telling you. Okay.
Yeah. That's not love.
Sure.
Like
for sure.
Whatever, man.
Right.
That's all.
Come
Water
on,
off a duck's back now.
Because
I love my father.
I'm looking for him though. I gotta talk to your father.
Okay, he was just here, man. We have a good relationship now. We just I appreciate it.
And we all need growth.
So,
right?
Yeah, we all need growth. Sure. I believe like the reason why we're here talking right now is because everything in life that we went through has built up us. God has allowed us to build up this moment and use those as strengths to give back as much as you do, and as much as I aspire to, man. So that all happened. My dad goes to jail for the weekend. My brother Ethan goes off to the receiving home. It's me, Patrick, and Amanda. I'm the oldest of 4. We go live with my grandma for that weekend, right? We go back over there, and some stuff happened. I punched a wall. My grandma had said some really, really hurtful things to me. And so I punched a hole in the wall. I got arrested again. I punched a hole in the wall, grabbed my little brother and sister, walked to the front of the trailer park. I'm screaming. I have nobody. I'm screaming, crying, dude. I'm 15. And I go up to the front. All of a sudden, the cops pull up, right? And I'm screaming in the middle of the street, dude. I got my 2 baby siblings right here, and I have no one to help.
What's the tool? We don't have the tool at the time.
I have no parents there.
No
father.
Right.
He's in jail. My mom is on meth at the time, right? Elsewhere, she's up in Corning. We're down there in El Centro. Cops pull up. Take me back over to the house. My grandma had me arrested again. Yeah, I already had charges. I was already on probation. I was already in and out of juvenile hall a bunch. And so fast forward, I'm in juvenile hall, go to court the first week. They're like, all right, we're going to keep you here for a little bit. We're going to figure out what's going on. We don't know what to do exactly. This house is on fire.
There's a lot going on here.
There's a lot. Yeah. A lot. And I had a really good probation officer. So go back to court the next week. I think court was every Monday or Wednesday. I forget, but go up in there and, they had me separated from everybody. My probation officer knew something I didn't. They had me separated. Normally they'd have us all sitting in one cell, hanging out, and then you go
in the pod.
Right. Yeah. In the pod. And then you go back, but they had me separated. He's like, hey man, I don't know what's going to happen in court today, but I have the president of Charlie Family Homes here. His name is John Pollock. This old 80-year-old guy ran the foster care system down there. And he's like, I have him here just in case. I didn't think anything of it. I was like, all right, whatever.
That was your person.
So I go into court. My dad's out of jail, and he's sitting there across from me. Right? I'm pissed, dude. I'm pissed. I'm so frustrated. I don't want to be in there. I don't deserve to be in there. Like, I'm just fighting for life.
You did nothing wrong.
Fighting for life, dude. I did. I punched a hole in the wall. Right? But whatever, you know what I mean? Like that happens when you're a teenager. But judge is talking about everything that's going on, and she's like, "Well, you have 2 options, Mr. Gibbens," talking to my father, and she's like, "Well, he can be released with you and go home today, or he can become a warden of the state."
Oh, they trying to get their paws in you.
And he said, "You know what? I can't control him. I don't know what to do with him. Yeah, I can't take him back." In court, my father said that.
That's crazy.
Oh, man, bringing out a lot of emotion. So I would keep a straight face off in court. Keep it on.
But here's the thing: it's like there's no accountability. You didn't just get here overnight.
This didn't happen overnight. Like I said,
that's why I don't want to talk about the wall. I'm not talking about the wall. I'm with that. Yeah. We own it.
Yeah.
But we don't get here overnight.
I don't get to choose that.
No.
I didn't get to make that choice.
Ooh.
So I keep a straight face on. That was my lowest point during my youth. I mean, I had a bunch of low points. But this was when your family says, "Nah, I don't want them." Mm-hmm. And I already had a mom that chose meth over me. Mm-hmm. I'd already been through abuse. Mm-hmm. Nothing.
And I'm telling you, it's interesting. I mean, I don't know for different people, but I mean, it's clear that pain never goes away.
No, you grow through it, and you use it. It's now a muscle I have to make sure I never, when I have children, never. That's what I was going to get to with you about your daughter too.
Never.
Yep. That was, my family said nope. Mm-hmm. As a kid, you think like, man, they don't love me anymore. They love me the best they could. That's what I say. They love me the best that they could with the tools that they had, with the strengths that they had, with the knowledge that they had. They loved me the best they could. They didn't know, man. They didn't know, and that's okay.
Hey, and I love you. Okay,
that's okay, bro.
And keep grinding and keep shining.
Yeah.
All right.
Yeah.
Because you make you're a good representative of the journey. You make the journey look good,
dude. We're all life.
Right? Yeah.
Isn't about struggle. It's about what you do with struggle. Right? Because the world will eat you alive. And people think it's all, we live in America, dude. We live in a bubble. Dude, I've been to Iraq and Afghanistan. I know what it's like. I know what people live like out there, right? Their cemeteries are dirt mounds with rocks. They're living in shacks. You know what I mean? We're concerned about the AC working, bro.
Right.
You know what I mean? But I wanted to ask, like, you know what? You have your family dynamic growing up. What drives you to be a great father? What do you do to be a great father?
What do I do to be a great father? They say life isn't fair, but I always try to give everybody a fair shake. I never beat, like on real estate deals, I never beat, I did a couple of deals with Bobby. He'd tell, I would never beat him up on a deal, even if there's more space. I just like fair, whatever fair is. Fair for me is if you tell me a price and I like the price, I'm going to pay it.
Right.
And if I don't like it, I'll probably ask you, is there room? Right? If you say no, I won't hold you. We just, cool, we won't do a deal. And I accept yes the same way I accept no. So if you say yes, I can borrow $1, I'm cool. If you say no, I can't borrow $1, I'm still cool. So that's my best definition of fair. And so like, it was always rougher than rough as a kid. And I don't really go to that place mentally too often because I don't need to. But since we're here, now it just makes me think. And I remember, I'm gonna leave that alone. Look, I'm gonna say like this. No, I'm gonna give it to you. And it's all respect. I remember I was mowing lawns, right? I had a route. I had Miss Pinky, Miss Williams, Miss Lee, Miss Janice. I was tearing the that's why I shout out to all the women. I remember my neighborhood, I was mowing lawn. I did a good job. But I had probably at one time 25 accounts before I was even in high school, right? And ironically, I was mowing lawns for predominantly all women. Maybe they had husbands, right? But I would deal with the women, right? They were older women, probably 50. I was 14 at the time. And I can't say that they all kept me as their landscaper because they needed it. I can't say that. I think that they had better options. I go to school during the week, right? Some weekends I'm playing. But they always would let me mow their lawn. And they would always take care of me. I'd charge like $20, $15. It wasn't 20, it was like 10 and 15 back then. And raking leaves like 5. I was little. And they always used to give me 20. Miss Pinky used to give me $60. Man, she used to roll them. Those 20, you could tell she was going to the bank. Those things were crispy. She'd roll them up, but they'd be crispy. And then my mom, the way community works, I wasn't allowed to take money from my neighbors. So I had mowed lawns for many years. That's the other thing. That's really how I got good, because I had to mow my neighbor's lawn, especially like the ones that like right here, but I wasn't allowed to take money from them. My mom was like, go take that money back. And you go tell Miss Lee thank you. Right? I'm like, Mama, for what? For me mowing her lawn? Yes. And so that's probably also to where it came from value. I was not allowed to take money for many, many years. I probably 100 lawns I mowed. And anybody that knows me would validate this story. Miss Lee's kids are my family. So they would tell you, and it's not about that. But that's where I learned value, is because I still had to take pride in the process. Because I did. I was edging that lawn, hitting it real nice, mowing it, sweep it. I didn't have a blower. So you have to understand, sweeping it, you know. And so I was already going to take pride in it regardless. And so I got good at that craft. But then I also understood that, well, I didn't understand, but it makes sense now. You know, you do bring a whole lot of value to people. Whether they pay you back or not, or they hit you back off, it doesn't matter. You just keep bringing value. Because I mowed all those lawns and I never, that's a lie. Miss Lee, she hooked me up with some nice Jordans one year. She came through. I'm gonna tell you the truth, and I don't even know, because there's no way that lady even knew what Jordans were. Kind of like her son had she couldn't have known, right?
Somebody knew.
Somebody told her to get those for me. So when I look at value, I go back to that. But you gotta, but help me, bless me one more time. I detracted. Where are we going?
I'll just keep going.
What was your question though? I want to make sure I answer it.
I'm lost in you, bro.
All right, no, so cool. So we're going with this. So I say that to say that.
It was about being a good father.
I know what I was going to tell you. So I remember, like, at one point, I did start charging. I started charging, but not Miss Lee, not Miss Pinky next door, but when I would go around the corner, Miss Janice and a few other people, I was charging. My mom didn't know these people, and they were asking me. They was like, because I'll be mowing the lawn. They said, "Can you come on my lawn next?" Sure, I'll be down there. How much you charge? 10, right? And so I remember, like, my money was, that's when I was having the little stacks, because it wasn't coming from my neighbors. And I remember electricity was out. Came home from school, because we like lived in the court. So when you walk in, it's like lights on, dark. Yeah. Lights on, right? And I remember that. And so I remember one time I had my money in my little blue wallet in my closet. Somebody took my money. I still remember, it was $85. It was $85. They took it. And I started looking for it. I was walking around the corner, like, maybe I dropped it. But I knew where I hid my money at, though, right? And so I later realized, you know, moms needed it. You know. My dad wasn't taking care of his business, and them lights were off. Moms needed it. And I never put her in a position, because I'm not dissing moms at all. Shout out to mom. She got whatever she wanted, and she did a hell of a job. But it just, that's how serious it is, because what happens then is, like, you heartbroke. Did this woman love me or not? Right? And I was able to put it together, right? That she did it to me. But she didn't do it to you. She did it for my siblings.
For you.
I don't know if it was for me. Well, I mean, I got the electricity, so yeah. But she did it for my siblings, right? And that goes back to knowing how to mow lawns and being able to track money early on. I was able to get money early, right? And so what that can do when a mother's back's against the wall, she has to lean into you. So when I was 16, I was paying rent. My mom would tell you this. I was paying the bills. It was nothing to be proud about. I knew. My mom was like, listen, I need help. I was like, my mom don't have any money. She's like, yes, you do. I need some help. How much? 400? I got to see. Let me call my friend, see if I can borrow the money. She was like, all right, go ask your friend. She knew I was lying. Yeah. And then I give her the money. So, you know, that type of responsibility early on, it just go back to parents, and you asked me about a father. Some of those things was heartbreaking, though, because my mom took my money a couple times, and then she said she didn't.
I had a similar thing happen. Yeah.
And and moms know I'm looking for the money. I'm tearing the whole house up for 3 days. I know I had it. Got the couch turned over. Got my little brother looking for it with me, right? But
she's over there. The lights are cut on.
Well, yeah, and you think about it like this: is like my mom's a saint. What's she gonna do? What am I gonna do? Electricity is off. What am I gonna do? So I'm more understanding and sad that she was in that position, and I'm really blessed to be in that position that I was early on. I was.
Imagine if you didn't have that money.
Woo. I think my mom gave away plasma a few times. Like my Arden, they have this place. Is it plasma? Or, I remember. I'm not nosy. I'm sharp a little bit, a little bit, right?
Right.
And I remember
I love it.
We went to this place. I'm like, what is this place? It's like by Buca de Beppo.
Yeah.
Right. I'm like, man, my mom in there again, probably talking to somebody again. And I remember years later, because I remember going there a few times. I remember years later, it got rear-ended me, boom, and my car almost rolled over into that parking lot. So as I'm recording it and the police are coming, I'm trying to give them the address. And this lady standing by me, she's like, yeah, she's calling the police. Yeah, we're over here, you know, by the blood plasma place or the plasma. I'm like, I said, that's what this place is?
Man.
The moms are trying to put the pieces together.
Whatever.
Shout out to mom.
Yeah, shout out to mom.
So no, the struggle is beautiful. And, you know, the one thing I always know is so important is that in all my ups, downs, and turnarounds, it was a lack of understanding for me. Because now you asking about my daughter. She's spoiled, you know. Her mom does a great job.
She has you. Of course she's spoiled.
Great co-parenting relationship. Yeah. And she, you know, keeping her safe is important. Keeping her as young as she could be. So, you know, she's 5 now, so keeping her 5. I don't play about the letting them be a little 7 or 8 and keeping her in those moments because they go by fast. But as a father, I just have my best thing is to have understanding. Because the more understanding I have, the more room it gives me to make an informed decision. And I mean, we all want the best for our kids, right? It's magical to me. It's magical because it's funny. My daughter doesn't want for it. She has all her necessities, right?
Yeah.
And it's just so funny. Because we didn't have any of that, right? But she's like, yeah, we got to go to Target to get my... She has a cousin. It's like 2. We got to go get her a birthday gift, you know? And shout out to her cousin, the little girl. We can go, let's bag it up. Let's bag it up, all right? Let's make sure she's straight, you know? And for me, that means a lot. I mean, it just means, but let me back up because now let's keep it real. Because my older friend Israel, in 2013, him and all my friends, they got incarcerated. So when I was like a year from coming home, I knew that I had a place to go to. I knew that somebody important to me was going to be there. And then he had got incarcerated. So when I came home to Sacramento, when I got out, there was nobody here. Nobody. My mom had moved. My freaking pseudo dad moved, right? My buddies were either incarcerated. Some passed away. Miss Virginia passed away. Nobody was here.
Jeez.
It was a little trick. And my whole plan, like from the time I first got in trouble, I was like, man, I got to knock this out so I can get back to hopping Miss Virginia's fence. They were all gone. And so I think about, like, when you ask what is it like to be a dad, being a dad started way before I had a daughter, and taking pride in that because I understand that, you know, to be a great leader, you got to be a great follower. And fortunately enough, I think that we all have people that come into our life. Sometimes you just take one person, but we all got those stories that one person comes into your life. It kind of changed the trajectory, give you the opportunity. And I've had, you know, a handful of those. Miss Virginia was one of them. My dad was one of them, right? And they can really, it's not about what they give you. Oftentimes what they show you, right? But that could be a gift, right? To really change your life. And I just remember Israel always used to tell me, you know, to be a great leader, you got to be a great follower. He always used to say that. And he always used to, like, when the ice cream man comes, he would buy like 50 push-up pops and make sure all the kids get them, right? Because those kids couldn't get that, right? So that's it's not about how much it costs. It's if my kid's gonna get it, they're all gonna get it. So I had watched that early on from a man, and so mentorship is important.
I love that, dude, because I see that in what you do, and pouring into other cups, man. I'm gonna challenge you as a homie to find out how we can help fill your cup.
Oh man, come on.
Yeah, we're gonna grow in this. We're gonna grow in this over the years, but just know that I'm watching now. I'm watching.
Give me some.
I got you, brother.
Yeah.
So, man, I know you're an avid reader. I know you're reading incarcerated, just studying and all that stuff, man. I'm curious, what book would you recommend everybody read?
All right.
What book changed your world?
No, I'm going to tell you. Everybody, look, I think that if you're struggling, you're not struggling, find some type of faith book to get into, right? That always helps, because faith is such a spiritual thing, and healing the spirit is so good. So I won't give a recommendation, I would say, about a genre, get into a spiritual book that resonates with who you are and what you believe or what you feel, right?
Beautiful.
But that would be the first book, right? Imperative, because everything else is just extra business. You got 48 Laws of Power, you got Sun Tzu, you got all those great books, right? But this is the current book I'm reading right now. And my good friend Trey gave me this book. It's called Buy Back Your Time. And this, by far, is my favorite book. And it talks about a lot of things, but we always talk about assets and time being one of them. And how to, as you scale as a business individual, as you scale as a leader, as you scale as a father, you try to allocate time for your kids, right? There's something about time that we don't understand, or we're not being responsible about. And in this book, it gives you a lot of strategies. It takes a philosophical approach to time. It takes a very literal approach to time, right? And then it gives you applications to how we look at time, delegating, processing, increment your days in 15-minute intervals. And what can you get done in 15 minutes? In 15 minutes, can you hop on the phone with a client, solve a request for repair, and then get an email out in 15 minutes?
Done.
Okay. So how many 15 minutes do you have in an hour? You have four. Right? And then 24 hours, 4 times 24, you could do the math, right? It must be like 96, right? I'm a lucky guess. So you
I hope it's 96.
I think it's 96.
Otherwise, we just got embarrassed.
We're both wrong. It doesn't matter.
Hey, but if we're both right or we're both wrong, we're both right there.
We're both right. Yeah. And so that's what that taught me. If you're scaling out, if you're looking to scale, if you're looking to do things, if you're looking to take your time back as an individual, so you can put your time in the right. I mean, you provided an opportunity for me to come hang out with you today, right? That's your time. You have a lot of things going on. And so how do we have more respect for our time, and how can we take our time back? Because I know I waste a lot of time, or I squander it, and time is finite.
Right.
So I would recommend this book. Have you read it?
No, I'm pumped to read it. I'm going to go order that.
No, I'm about to order it for you right now.
Oh, let's go. Let's go. I'll give you my address when we're done.
Please, I'm ordering for you right now. Yeah, I'm going to hook you. Well, I got you. Yeah, I'm going to order the book for you. Great book. But definitely that's the book that I would recommend. Buy Back Your Time by Dan Martell.
Oh, I can't wait to read that, man. Actually, in a better way to put that, I look forward to reading that.
Killer. It's killer. I promise you.
Let's go. I appreciate that, bro. We'll get that done right when we get off here.
Yeah.
And last question, man. What's one piece of advice you would give anybody in the world right now?
The one piece of advice I would give to anybody in the world right now is, sorry about that. The one piece I would say, if you caught me abroad, it might be something different. So I'm just taking what's on my chest, right? The way I see it. Keep grinding, man. Keep grinding. I'm telling you, because you don't have to know all the answers. But if you grind, I guarantee you 90% of the people around you are not going to do it. So you can, if you're in competition with other people or you have a specific goal, you can get there just by grinding.
I love it, man. I love it. Well, thank you so much, brother. I really appreciate it. I look forward to the next time, man, and watching you grow. And we're going to find out how we can pour into your cup, brother.
Man, I appreciate you. I love your life. It's nothing but love and respect and admiration for you. I know what you're doing. I see what you're doing. You're bringing so much value. I appreciate your vulnerability. I appreciate your generosity. I look forward to really avidly watching and following your podcast and your journey in any way I could bring value to you. Call me first.
Let's go, baby.
All right,
love you, dog.
For sure. Love you too, brother. For sure.